Okay, welcome back, everybody. I hope you had a nice chat with your breakout roommates. So I'm curious about what you learned this week and what is still challenging for you. So if you would like to share, please type your responses into the chat box and we'll talk about them together. Great, good stuff. Keep it coming. Great. Okay, let's look at what you're sharing. So Nancy Hand says that scheduling is much easier with the app. I agree. You want to be using the program on your computer or your device rather than the web page version. That's much less user-friendly. Bethany asked about breakout rooms. We're going to talk about that today. And Biter put the app on her iPad and then decided that computer was a better option. That's what I found as well. iPads they work, but it's a lot easier on the computer. Lindsay is anticipating how to use the different Zoom tools for language teaching, which is something, Lindsay's very familiar with Zoom because she uses them all the time in her job at the university, but using these tools for language teaching is something that we're all going to be learning. Mariam learned how to use the whiteboard. Susan has a question about the whiteboard. We're going to work on that more today. The logistics of sharing information in the breakout rooms. That is something we will talk about next week. Good point, Kathy. How to share things on an iPad. Getting people to raise hands. Kathy Gregonis. And whiteboard. How to use the whiteboard. So we will definitely be talking about the whiteboard. I think that the best way to get people to raise their hands is to ask them to raise their physical hands. Because fiddling around with the reactions in the participant lists and all of that just gets distracting. And as the host, I don't often notice when people have raised their hands. So just good old-fashioned hand up has been working for me. Cindy learned how to be a host and invite, and figuring out how to share PowerPoint has been challenging. Feeling more comfortable with the teaching portion. Yep, that's coming next week. And the difference between screen share and whiteboard, and we will delve into that a little bit today. Great. Sounds like you have learned a lot in this past week, and onward and upward this week. So let's jump back into the PowerPoint here. Everybody see my PowerPoint slides? Okay. So last week there were some questions about recording of sessions, and we talked as a team and decided that it would be really tough to manage the privacy concerns, students' privacy concerns, if we are recording class meetings and sharing them, even if it's just within the class, because we can't guarantee that the students won't be sharing those recordings. So please, if you choose to record your class, don't share it. And please do not allow students to record. That's a setting in Zoom. The default is for it to be off, so it shouldn't be a problem. But if a student asks, hey, can I record this? You can tell them no. It is still okay for you to record classes for yourself. I plan to do that so that I can watch it and learn about my own Zoom teaching. So that's still okay. Just please no sharing of class recordings. And if students do miss class, there are many ways that we can still support them. You can interact with them over text. If you have a WhatsApp group for your class, our pilot teachers have found that students tend to jump on there and support each other. And then phone calls or emails will work as well. You'll have all of their contact information when we connect you with your students. Questions about that? So, exciting news. Jennifer has gotten your Literacy Connects accounts all set up. So these are your Literacy Connects Zoom accounts, and you received an email about this on Monday, I believe. These accounts are things like Ella Volunteer 1 at literacyconnects.org, Ella Volunteer 12. There's actually an Ella Volunteer 13, which may be unlucky, we don't know. So those email accounts are not real email accounts. So you're not going to use those email accounts for anything except for logging into Zoom. Okay, and I'll show you that in a second. So if you are logged into Zoom in your personal account, see here, I'm in my Kate Van Rukel account. I'm going to click Switch Account. And this is in your Zoom program, your Zoom app. I can click Switch Account. This is where I really want to get. So if I start here, then that's also good. I'm just going to put in the information that Jennifer gave me, the sign in and the password. And then I get into my Zoom interface. You will be sharing your Zoom account with 2 other teachers. So there are 3 teachers for each account, a morning, a midday, and an evening teacher. So please do not change any of the settings because anything that you change will impact those other teachers. You can change settings in your class, in that class meeting, but please don't change any of the security settings in the account, if that makes sense. And the other important thing is that you'll need to sign out at the end of your time with your students so that the other teacher who's after you can sign in. Okay, let's look at that one more time. You're going to sign in this normal sign-in window with the information that Jennifer sent. Don't change any of the account settings. Change settings in your class, in your meeting, that's okay, but not in the account. And then make sure that you sign out when you're done. Questions? Good. Okay, so our first skill of the day is to rename yourself. So as you see here, your account is just this Ella Volunteer 1, 2, 3, 4, but you're so much more than Ella Volunteer 1. So let's look at how you can rename yourself in the meeting. You just need to go to the participants window, participants button. We're actually going to practice this, so find the participants button. And I think, let me check on iPad. Yeah, iPad, it's the same. You just look at the participants list. And then you get something like this, a list of everybody in the meeting. You find yourself and you click on More. And then the option is to rename. So I'm going to do that right now for myself. So everybody do that right now. Rename yourself something silly. This is my name backwards. Lindsay, new name, non-Ella person, Annie Banana. Narak, share. Kathy Gregonis, what did you say, Kathy? Kathy Gregonis, cat parent. Rosie's mom, Susie Q. Great. Kathy, number 6. Okay, great. See, that's really easy. And so you'll want to do that every time that you have class so that your name is in there rather than the generic Ella account. So everybody reverse those steps and change your name back so that I can not be confused by your fun names. I'll put mine back too. Great. Okay, we're about halfway through. So following our best practices, we know that meetings should not be longer than an hour and that we should move as much as possible. So let's take a little stretch break. This is a chance to practice turning off your camera. So your stop video button is down here in the bottom right corner. So everybody turn off your camera. I'm gonna leave mine on so I can lead us in our rousing stretches. Okay, everybody, do some twists and some monkey arms and kick your legs and have a seat. And you can turn your cameras back on. I can tell that you're feeling more confident with Zoom because last week, turning off video was a new thing. Now y'all can just boop, get it done. Nice work. Okay. So, let me find my notes again. I have so many windows open. Okay. So, pop quiz. Remind me what are our goals for this summer? You can put them in the chat box. What are our goals for summer English Zoom? Connect with students, keep it simple, give them a chance to practice, reconnect, enjoy teaching and learning, get comfortable, keep students motivated, have fun, speak English, exactly. So these are our goals for the summer. And we need to and good enough is good enough. Break isolation, oh good, everybody's on board. So these are the things that should guide the technology choices that we make. There are many bells and whistles with Zoom, but we need to choose the tools that help us accomplish these goals. So let's take a look at some of these best practices. We know that using visual support is super important in Ella class, and you all are really good at it in in-person classes. And in Zoom, it's also possible and really important. It's just going to look different. So in the chat box, please type your ideas for how we can provide visual support for students in this online format. Props. Bethany says props. Great. Great, great, great. Lots of ideas. So yes, props, we can use props. Look, I have my realia right here. I have actual fruit. This is still a great way to provide visual support for students. What else? Pictures on the whiteboard. Yes, we can share pictures on the Zoom whiteboard. We'll look at that today. But also, don't forget about your physical whiteboard. These are my class set of DIY whiteboards. Just a sheet protector and a piece of paper. And watch how easily I can provide visual support. Look at that. So fast and easy, didn't stress me out at all, and it's as effective as a more technological option. Screen sharing of PowerPoints, yep, we'll be looking at that. Physical movement that everyone can see in the video. Good one, Lindsay. So for example, everyone, please touch your nose. Touch your ear. Touch your forehead. So all of those, remember that's called total physical response, TPR. That is still a really great option in this online format. Old school charts and posters, definitely. PowerPoint pictures of vocabulary, making sure that you're visible to students, making sure, you remember that screenshot from last week, that was the photo that went up my nose. We don't want that. Printing out pictures, yes. Look at this. I could just hold up pictures and we can use that as visual support. Drawings on the whiteboard. Ooh. Kathy has had students share their crafts and artwork, show their gardens, and send pictures to share. So students can provide visual support and visual prompts as well. Ask students to hold up props and pronounce the name. Video clips. Deb says that video clips seem like they should be easy. They are. I'll show you how. Household objects. Dark pin on the whiteboard. Yes. So one fun idea I've read about online is having students do scavenger hunts, where you prepare the clues and then you send students scurrying in their houses to go find whatever items you're asking them to look for. Then they run back and they have to hold it up. Great, you covered everything that I thought of. And again, remember our rule to keep it simple. This is about connection and having fun and practicing some English. So if these really techie options make you feel stressed out, then it's okay not to use them. Just because they exist doesn't mean we have to use them. It's about finding what works best for you and your students. And you will figure that out as you go along. Questions about this stuff? Okay, so let's actually look at screen sharing. This is a question that many people have had. When I want to share my screen, and I think that you all may not have this in your Zoom right now because it might not be enabled. Do you see this? You do? Okay. So,
we see it, but when you click it, it says host is disabled.
Okay, great. So when you're practicing with your family and friends, you'll click share screen and you'll get this window. This window is everything I have open on my computer right now. I have my 2 Zoom screens and I have my PowerPoint and my notes. Over here, I have my whiteboard. Deb and Fred asked about sharing videos. If I had a video pulled up on YouTube, it would appear here. So I would just click it and then click share computer sound. Share, Boop, that's all I have to do. So everything I have open appears here. I want to share this screen. So I'm just going to hit share. And that's all I have to do. It's very easy. This screen can feel overwhelming, but just know that it's everything you have open. So if a lot of stuff appears here, close those things and simplify this dialog box. Okay, let's look at that again. I click share screen, and then I get this thing. I click the thing I want to share, and then I click share. Yes, so Susan asks, that could be a photo. Yes, that could be a photo. Anything that you open on your computer, you can share here. Other questions? Where do you find the whiteboard to put up there? Great. We'll look at that in a second, Anne. So this is my whiteboard. So if I want to share the whiteboard, instead of sharing my Zoom screen, I'm going to share my whiteboard. Where's my whiteboard practice? Oh, okay. So let me just show you what the whiteboard looks like. We're not going to go in depth with the whiteboard today. We're going to have advanced Zoom trainings after 2 weeks into the session, so that those first 2 weeks, keep it super simple with your students, because the students are learning the technology too. So I recommend not using the whiteboard yet, but I'll be providing support as the session goes on so that you can ramp up your tech there. But I'm going to just show you what it looks like when I share it. Okay. Does everybody see a white screen with some thingies up here? Okay. Please click on one of these things in the black. You should also have a black bar up here. And see if you can edit this thing. Ooh, got some arrows.
Kate, what's a black bar, or where's a black bar?
Yeah, not everybody is seeing it. It kind of comes and goes, so you need to hover your mouse up there to make it appear.
It's when you get to the view options, and then you go to annotate, and then from annotate it'll show you the bar.
Thank you, Karen. I had no idea. Say that again, Karen.
If you go up to the black bar that says view options, one of the options is annotate.
Okay.
Click on that, and then you'll get a bar that shows you all kinds of things you can do.
Thank you. Well, this is beautiful. I did it. Karen, do you know how to do it on the iPad? You know what, Diane? Let's see, where are you? Diane, I'm going to do a session just for you and Joey, who are the only two people who are using iPads, and we'll figure all this out together. So don't stress.
I've used this on the iPad, but I can't seem to do it on your whiteboard. I don't see the black legend box, but I have played with this myself. I
Okay.
wonder if all of the participants on the bottom are covering it up.
Hmm.
No.
Ooh, somebody says very easy on phone. Nice. So as you can see, this could be really fun to use in class, but there is a learning curve. So that's why we want to wait at least 2 weeks before using it, because we don't want students to feel stressed out and overwhelmed with the technology as well. Okay, but super fun to play with. So play with this when you're practicing with your family and friends this week. I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. Sorry, everybody. Goodbye to our beautiful creation. Yes, so to turn on the black line of options, you go to View Options at the top and then click Annotate. Great. So breakouts. Again, why would we want to use breakouts? Throw an answer in the chat box there. For pair work, small group practice, dialogues, conversation practice. Students might feel more comfortable speaking in a breakout session. It encourages participation. Absolutely. All of that great stuff that you do so much in in-person class. But breakouts are a little bit intimidating, both for the host and the participants. You may not want to jump into them right away. So what are some other options that you could use in the main Zoom room that could still encourage student participation, help them feel comfortable, etc.? And remember, you're only going to have 6 students, so be a small group. Put those ideas in the chat box. Great, great ideas. So we could simply ask students to raise their hand if they want to speak. We can be very explicit with our directions and say, Kate, introduce yourself to Karen. Or Kate, ask Karen a question. Choral responses to get everyone used to speaking on video so they get comfortable. Another good thing going along with that is, for example, if we have students read out loud, we could just have one student read out loud and the other students mute themselves so they can also read along, but it doesn't interfere with the audio. And it's a very, very safe way of practicing. Asking 2 students to read a dialogue together, asking students to share something using the chat box. Ask a question and ask each student to give an answer. Do a game where each student adds a word to a sentence. Ask students to describe what they're wearing, describe how they look. Listen to an audio file together and then discuss after. So because it's such a small group, there are a lot of options in the main room. And it's all about deciding what will work best for you and for your students. Remembering that we want to keep it simple. Let's look at how to do breakouts here. Well, I'd like to say one more thing about this. That these ideas of how we want to facilitate student talk time. It'll be important to teach those as routines, just like in in-person class. The first time you do an activity, it's a little herky-jerky with students, but as the students get to know the activity, they become more comfortable with it, and then you can use it again and again. It'll be the same in these Zoom classes. So we'll need to teach the students our routines and our expectations for how we interact with each other in this new Zoom room. So let's look at breakouts. You may not see this in your black bar since you're not the host, but again, it looks like a Rubik's Cube. Do you have that? No, okay. So when you're practicing, you'll have that. It's a little 4 square down here. And then you get this very flattering picture of me along with this box about creating breakout rooms. So it shows how many people are in the meeting. Today we've got 18, so this would show 18. And then you just choose how many rooms you want them to go in. So if I had 18 participants, I would send you all into 6 rooms so that you would be 3 in a room. And that's it. Super easy. You'll see that there's an option to automatically send people into rooms or manually. I plan to only use automatically because, oh, I'm sorry. So the difference between automatically and manually, this one just shuffles people in there, and this one you assign people to rooms. So if you wanted the higher proficiency students together and the lower proficiency students together, you could do that. If you wanted to mix up language groups, you could do that. With 6 people, it will be very easy to do this. There is an option to assign the breakout groups before the meeting starts, but that's what I plan on not doing because we don't know who is going to attend each day. So I plan to just make my breakout rooms when my students are already there. Bethany asks if the host can see what's happening in breakout sessions. Unfortunately, no. The only way to see what's happening in the breakout sessions is to join it. And so then the people in the breakout sessions see that you're in there. So there's no way to eavesdrop, unfortunately, like there is in real class. Deb asks if there is a default amount of time for breakout rooms. No, they're as long as you want them to be. I set my phone timer when you were in your breakout rooms, and then when it went off after 5 minutes, I just hit, I think it's called close breakout rooms for all. And then you got that 16-second warning, and then you come back. Other questions? Ooh, Kathy says you can set a timer when you create the rooms and they close automatically. I have learned that you have to have at least 4 people in the Zoom call to be able to create breakout rooms. So depending on how many students show up on a given day, it might not be an option. Susan and Catherine ask where the close button is. Once you send people into the breakout rooms, it appears in a box. It's very easy, very obvious. Ross says, I don't see myself in a window. Does anyone else? So we aren't in the breakout rooms yet. Ross, do you mean this?
Yeah, hi, Kate. Yeah, I can page through and see you and everyone else in a window, but I don't see myself anywhere.
Are you on a phone?
I am.
Okay, I think that might be it.
Yeah, I was in a window when we first started, but then I disappeared. And I've been having some other real problems accessing where folks are. So, I mean, probably we'll need to talk to you folks on the phone afterwards. There's no reason to interrupt anything now.
Great, we can do what do you call it, study hall.
Okay,
We can see you though, Ross.
okay, good.
So, okay, questions about breakout rooms? More questions? Okay. So, our students, the whole reason that we're doing this, we need to uh-oh. Am I freezing? Can you see me? Did I freeze?
Mhm.
Okay, am I back? Okay. I could tell because you all froze for me, and that's how I know. Okay, so supporting our students on Zoom. Pop quiz, again, tell me, what do you remember about the affective filter? This is high stakes. Lindsay, you can't answer.
Should we put this in chat?
Yeah, chat, please.
Okay.
Catherine says nothing. Okay, so it's about information, it's about comprehension, and it's about engagement. The affective filter, you'll remember this from training. Remember the good lesson, bad lesson with the French? And so the theory is that when we feel stressed out or demotivated or disrespected, this filter comes up that blocks the language input. And we're not able to take in the English, the new language, and work with it and retain it. But when we feel relaxed and happy and motivated and respected, we're much more able to take in that language input and work with it and produce new sentences with it. Do you remember that from training? We want to feel good. We want to feel relaxed and happy and part of a community rather than feeling stressed out and nervous and disrespected, unmotivated. So we really need to consider that when we're choosing the tech tools that we use. Again, all of these bells and whistles exist, but that doesn't mean we have to use them. We need to choose what's going to make us and our students feel relaxed and happy to be there, happy to be using English together. So again, we'll want to establish routines about our expectations around should students mute themselves, should we mute students, should nobody mute, how we want them to ask questions, do we want them to just raise their hand or use the chat box, and these routines and activities for maximizing student talk time. We're recommending that we should all expect 2 weeks of intense tech learning for students, and we'll want to take it easy on the English during those first 2 weeks. Definitely have some, but expect a lot of trial and error with the tech, both for yourself and for the students. And next week, we'll be sending out, when we connect you with your students, we'll be sharing translated Zoom tutorials. So for example, if you have an Arabic speaker who will be using Zoom, we have a tutorial in Arabic that will help them learn Zoom. Okay. We have them in a handful of languages, certainly not all of the many languages represented in the program, but we have the main languages that we'll be sharing. Questions about all of that? And again, our cardinal rule, we want to keep it simple for us and for our students. So like we mentioned before, Catherine asked, when they use Zoom, do they have it in their native language? Miriam, can I ask for your insight on this? Miriam and Diane have been experimenting with that. Can you tell us what it looks like, Miriam?
So I've used Zoom on my phone, and when I do, it's in my native language, French, but not on my computer. So we're still not sure how it looks to our students, but at least for me, it's in my native language.
But for example, if someone sends you a chat in Zoom, that appears in English.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, Miriam, the command mute and the command chat is in the foreign language or the native language for people to follow how to do it?
That I'm not sure, but on my phone, at
Phone,
least for
it
me,
is.
all of the commands, yeah, show up in French.
And if I would write to you on your phone and send you a chat, you would see it in English.
Yes.
Would it be translated to also to you to, okay,
No. It would show up just in English.
in English. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Miriam. There's a lot that we're going to learn. The learning curve is going to be like, like this. We just have no idea what it really is going to look like. So thanks for coming along for the ride. Diane asks, how will we contact students? Great question. This is going to start happening end of this week, certainly next week. Karen, do you want to speak to that? She does not. Okay, so we'll be recruiting students from the existing classes that were taking place in the spring. And if you weren't teaching in the spring, then we'll be creating a class for you. Jennifer is going to be reaching out with an app that does translate messages into students' first languages. And so we'll be texting everyone in those classes and inviting them to join the program. And then we'll be divvying them up among teachers. That's the plan anyway.
So Jennifer is going to be sending out, she's going to be sending out something to all of the students who had 12 or more hours last session. If you were teaching in the spring and you have particular students that you would really like to reach out to, you can do it or let us know. Again, we're figuring this out, but hopefully we'll have a group of students within the next day or so.
Cool. We've got some questions in the chat box here. Cindy asked, do you put your PowerPoints on the screen share before you start the class? Yes and no. You need to have all the things that you want for class. Maybe you have a PowerPoint that you made and you have a video that you want to show. Have those two things open before you start class. And then when you're ready to share, they'll appear in this window, and then you'll share them when you're ready. But open them before the class starts. Susan Davey asks about the whiteboard. She uses a lot of drawing. Susan, I would recommend, my whiteboard fell on the floor, but I would recommend just using your physical whiteboard for the first couple weeks until the stress level has gone down, and then explore with the online one. And Deb and Fred ask if it's okay for students to invite a friend to join the class. Karen, turning that one over to you.
I think that's a Jennifer question.
We will ask Jennifer. Will you write that down, Karen?
Mm-hmm.
Thanks. Other questions? Okay, let's take a look at your homework checklist. Do you see the, it says Zoom skills checklist? Okay, great. So this is just like last week, but with different tasks over here. These are the tasks, and these are web pages and videos that can support you in practicing those tasks. So your first task is to sign into your Literacy Connects Zoom account. See what that feels like, practice with it. Make sure to sign out when you're done so that your account mates can also sign in. When you're practicing, try making someone a co-host. This, if you have a co-teacher, you'll need that. You'll need to be able to share functions with your co-teacher. You may want to do it with a student. Practice renaming yourself like we did today. Experiment with using your realia and your physical resources. See what that looks like and feels like. And then move into practicing with the online version. You can experiment with screen share. Remember, anything that you have open on your computer is what you can share. So try opening a document, try opening a web page, try opening a video, and you can try sharing all those things. Playing with the Zoom whiteboard, this is advanced, this is extra credit. If you feel like it, play with it and see if it feels like it might be a good match for you and your students. If that feels like too much, then don't worry about it. We'll have more sessions, training sessions on that later in the summer. You can try creating breakout rooms and sending participants to breakout rooms so that you get comfortable with that dialog box. Questions about these things? Okay, great. Thank you so much for all of your questions today. I learned so much from your questions. It's like every time I do this, I learn more and more and more about Zoom. So thanks for all of your great questions. Thanks for your patience and your flexibility as we figure all this stuff out. Bethany asks if other people will see when you practice with the Zoom account. Do you mean other Literacy Connects people, Bethany? No. Whoever is signed into the account will see what's going on, but you can't have multiple people signed into the account at the same time.
But I would caution you that if your time is a morning time or noon or evening, that you stay within that slot because you are sharing that account with 2 other people.
Thanks, Karen. Okay, as always, don't hesitate to reach out with questions. Also happy to do one-on-one support, especially with iPads and phones, because we know that looks way different than the computer. And everybody, please have a great week and stay healthy and sane.
Thank you.
Good luck. Thanks, everybody. Nice to see you all.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Kate, are we having one more formal training and then we
Yes.
start?
Next week.
Okay, and then we have advanced classes kind of after we get started.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And
next week
is about teaching.
and you're going to do the same thing. We're giving us options and we have to sign up for a time for next week. Okay, wonderful.
Yep.
Thank you.
Great. See you next week. Ross, let's chat about your phone.